What's up, guys? My name is Steven.
My name's Morel. So in this segment, we're gonna do a hypothetical scenario. We're gonna go over the 7 Canadian teams and basically where they deserve to draft. So basically, in this scenario, we're saying, oh, somehow magically, the lottery happens for the first overall pick, and all 7 Canadian teams align from first to seventh. So we're just gonna give our order on where the teams deserve to draft from those positions.
Where we pretty much think they will draft.
Yeah. Okay, so
You want me to go?
yeah, you share your list, and then so basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna share our list where the teams deserve to draft. Like, for example, Montreal deserves to draft at this position because they've had this much success, or because of that, or so on. So it's just basically where they deserve to draft, and we're just gonna share our opinions on why, and so forth.
Perfect. So do you want to do it like this? So I'll read my number 7, then you read your 7, or do you want me to just go down my list?
Yeah, we can. So yeah, you can read your 7, and then I read my 7,
Yeah.
and then we just go from there. And then, also we say what they should do, going through the trade deadline.
All right. So who I think is going to draft 7th, which means, in my opinion, the closest to being a complete team out of the Canadian teams is the Montreal Canadiens. And I'm saying this because, yeah, right now it does look like the team revolves around Carey Price, which it does, let's be honest. I do still think, they've tasted the success, and sometimes all you do need is the goaltender. I do believe the goaltender makes or breaks your team, and right now they're very broken. But I don't think they should blow it up. I don't think they need Austin Matthews. They do need help. Trade deadline coming up. I don't think that they should do anything this year. Like, don't make any quick judgments. Don't fire Terry and anything like that. So that's my reasoning for them being number 7.
Okay, so for me, number 7th would be Edmonton. My justification is you've had numerous first overall picks over the past years, so it's like, hey, you deserve to draft last, and it's not like drafting 7th is you're getting a bad player. I mean, you're still likely to get a hell of a player at number 7. So I think they won the McDavid sweepstakes last year. I mean, hey, you have the best toy in the National Hockey League right now. You're drafting last out of all the Canadian teams, and that's my justification for it. I mean, every year they get it. They get the top pick. This year, no, I don't think they deserve. I think they deserve to pick last. And going into the deadline, I wouldn't necessarily make any rash decisions. I would maybe take a look at Teddy Purcell, maybe move him if a team needs a top 6 forward, things like that. I mean, I'd look at moving out some bad contracts, but I don't know if you could at this point, like a Mark Fane. I know Nikita Nikitin expires this year, but yeah. And then going to the draft, I'd then circulate back if they keep Purcell and re-sign him, because it looks like he's playing well with Draisaitl, then you need to move 1 or 2 pieces out of the top 6. So for me, I think the guys that would get moved or should get moved are Nugent Hopkins and Yakupov, but then you just have to determine what value they give you. So that's what I think they should do going forward. But those aren't really deadline moves, with the exception of Teddy Purcell.
No, I agree with you there. So my number 6 team, so who I think is also fairly close to being a complete package, is the Winnipeg Jets. It's going to be a scary offseason for them, given the Ladd and Bufflin situation. To be honest with you, it doesn't look like Bufflin wants to come back. Just his comments. I don't know if you saw it.
I think,
All-Star game.
he I think he's just trying to say the right thing, just so he doesn't cause a circus.
Didn't come out the right way. Yeah, exactly. Then he came out and said he loves the city. But what?
Yeah, I mean, I think his agent just told him, hey, say it like this, so it seems like you're being honest. I mean, I totally agree with you there. To me, that looks completely fabricated.
Yeah. So I'm scared for them there. But I do still think, and I remember last time saying, I don't think they have a true number 1 goalie. Yes. I do change my mind. I think you're right on Hellebuyck. I think he is the future goaltender for them going forward. Other than their general manager, I really don't have any concerns about this team. I like Paul Maurice there. The defense corps has always been there. The forward corps has always been there. I don't think they should even make any rash decisions at the deadline. Just get these two signed and go from there.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what goes forward. I mean, I have a different justification for Winnipeg than yours, but I can definitely see your point. My number 6 is Montreal. So I have Montreal at number 6 basically because I also feel like they're really close to being probably the best Canadian team.
Yeah.
But you can tell they just have that missing piece with Carey Price not there, and goaltending is everything in my opinion.
Right.
I mean, they can't score, yeah, but I mean, if you score one goal and your goalie shuts it out, then that's just a 1-0 win. So I agree with you there. But so I have Montreal at number 6 because they 2 or 3 years ago they drafted in the 2012 draft they got the 3rd overall pick. I mean, so they've drafted pretty early before they got their toy with Galchenyuk. I think as of most recently they're the Canadian team with the most success. They're the last Canadian team to win the cup. So I think they should just draft 6th overall. I'd have them at 7th, but just because the Oilers have gone so many first overall picks, I'm putting Montreal 6th. And going into the deadline, I agree with Steve here. I mean, they shouldn't make any rash decisions. I would keep the coach. To me, honestly,
not his fault.
It's not his fault, but at the same time, it looks like the room's disengaged, so I think they have to...
That's also true.
Going forward, you either have to move the coach or you have to circle back and look at your core. I mean, to me, it doesn't look like there's any apparent leaders in there. That happens when Josh Georges and Giantor go out. I mean, I'm not saying they're the greatest players, but they definitely provide a presence in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Pacioretty, to me, isn't a captain, so I think... With no disrespect to him, he's a hell of a player. I think he's just too quiet of a leader. And I don't know. I think they need to get someone in that room like an Eric Stahl, like someone a veteran or a David Backes, like maybe in free agency if he's available. Just someone to shake the room up, help put everyone accountable. Because to me, Pacioretty doesn't look like the type of guy. Hey, if you screw up, he goes up to you and scares you. Like you need your captain to like. Have you wake up the team once in a while if the coach isn't doing the job. That's why the captain's there.
And also why I'm not scared of Montreal is because they're going to attract free agents.
Yeah,
People will want to play for Montreal.
Yeah, 100%.
They are right up there.
I agree with you. So who's your number 5 pick?
So who I have in the 5th spot is the Calgary Flames. Obviously made the playoffs last year, beat the Vancouver Canucks in the first round. Very exciting year as a Flames fan because that just came out of nowhere. You know, they were expected to draft top 3, which looks like they're going to do this year anyways. You know, what can I say? I don't think they're far away. You know, they got Dougie Hamilton. Yeah, they had 3 first-round picks last year, but none of this matters. I do think they're very close. It's just a goaltender away. You know, obviously I wouldn't say get rid of Bob Hartley by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, I do understand that there's a few players that won't be back. You know, Hoodler definitely won't be back.
Yeah, 100%.
Weidman, I'm actually hearing might not be back.
I'm hearing he could go to Boston.
I heard
based
that.
on what I'm reading from online sources.
I heard that as well. You know, these players are gonna go. I do think overall Calgary has a good system already in place. I don't. Obviously, anyone would benefit drafting first overall. I just don't think that's what they need. They need a number 1 goalie.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, if we can pry either Anderson or Gibson away from Anaheim at this point, doesn't look like it's going to be Gibson, by the way. You know, that's what we need. And I'm going to stick with that.
I agree with you. I mean, to me, Anderson looks like a number 1 goalie. He has the makings of a number 1 goalie, so that's a good option Calgary could look into. Or just like you see maybe another Martin Jones, just like you just find him like a backup from somewhere else and you just like pick him up and he's your new number 1. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. For me, number 5, 5th overall pick would be the Vancouver Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just basing the way I'm basing it off of is, I look at their team. I think for majority of the Canadian teams, you can argue that they're probably one of the more depleted teams. I mean, if you look at on paper, just speaking on paper, I'd say the most depleted team on paper is Toronto.
Yeah.
And then after Toronto, I would probably argue from all the Canadian teams, it would be Vancouver.
I agree.
Their defense core doesn't look too great. I mean, they have a couple of guys there. They have Hamhuis, Edler, Tanev, but it doesn't look like Hamhuis would come back. I'm not sure what's going on there. And then their goaltending, I mean, Miller is getting old, and I'm not sure if Markstrom is ever going to be a number one. And then on forward, they have picked a couple of guys that are playing on their team right now with Horvat and Jared McCann and Virtanen. But I mean, I think with these guys, it's hard to tell. Horvat had a good little year last year, and he's kind of slipped. So I don't know. So basically, I'm unjustifying my argument for them going to number 5. But the reason that I say they deserve to go number 5 is because they've had higher picks in the past few years. So they drafted Horvat 9th overall in 2013, and then 2014 they took Virtanen. I think it was 6th overall. Last year they made the playoffs, so they didn't draft as high, and that's one of the reasons. It's like they made the playoffs last year. And on top of that, you also have to consider that they're the last Canadian team to make the Stanley Cup Finals.
Disgusting.
And they've had Henrik and Daniel Sedin for as long as I can remember. So it's like, hey, you've always had your guys there. They've been like the face of your franchise for quite a while. They've had good moments in Vancouver. They've been to the finals. I think what's happening in Vancouver, they've done to themselves. Like, it was self-inflicted. The whole Kessler, Luongo, Schneider situation, that's self-inflicted. They were having success, and because of that success, I'm picking them to go 5th overall. And going forward with the trade deadline, I think they have to take a look at what they do with Verbata. I mean, basically they look like they're going to the route that they want to go with their younger guys. So I'd move Verbata out and try to get a piece or two there. I think an interesting scenario would be maybe trading Verbata to Boston for Eriksson. Or like Verbata and pieces. Both guys are becoming UFAs at the end of the year. Maybe if you move them out, they're accustomed to their new locations and re-sign. And I'm sure Eriksson would like the idea of playing with Swedish countrymen Henrik and Daniel Sedin. So I think that's an interesting scenario there. I'd also look at moving out Hamhuis. He's going to be a UFA. I think they can. You look like trading maybe if they trade him to a team like LA who needs a defenseman.
Right.
I think Hamhuis would be a good fit on that team. So I think he'd be a good fit on any team. I'd just move him out just basically because you're missing the playoffs and he's an expiring contract. And then lastly, see what you can do with Higgins and Prost. I mean, it looks like they're trying to get them out of there as quickly as possible. So that's just my justification as why Vancouver should be drafting 5th and not any higher.
So now to the middle child, 4th overall. I got your Ottawa Senators here. This is a funny team because one year they'll just absolutely suck. And
which is this year.
Everything is going wrong. Yeah, this year pretty much was your golden opportunity, which looked like you guys had it for a bit. But, remember last year at this point, you were pretty much the same position. No, I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's not. So don't go your heads up.
It will not. I agree.
Why I have them at 4th, though, is I do think exactly that. They are the middle child here of the Canadian teams because, 1 year you'll see a lot from them. Next year you won't see anything from them. But I don't think that's a knock on them. This is actually a good team. I got to say, the forward group's there. I don't like the defense. I think that's your biggest issue. Obviously, you got one of the best defensemen in the game, Erik Karlsson. I love him. The goaltending, you got Craig Anderson. I like that. So obviously, right now, it looks smart that you got rid of Leonard. Let's see how well that's going for Sabres fans. But you know what? I have them here. I don't have much to add. It's the middle child. That's what it is. I
mean, at number 4, I also have the Ottawa Senators. I mean, Steve took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, forward group looks decent. Defense very lackluster. Outside of Karlsson, looks depleted. I mean, Mark Mathout's a good shutdown defenseman, but outside of those two guys, you don't really have any solid caliber players. You can say they're all fringe 6th to 7th defensemen if they were on a regular team. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. And then I can't really blame the goaltending for what's happened this season.
No.
But yeah, I agree with you with the justification to why you have them for 4th overall. I mean, They've had success in the past. They've never really reached the expectations, but they've also been expected to suck, and I don't think they've sucked to the level people have expected them to. They've made a couple nice runs. And I just think they're, out of all the Canadian teams, I could justify them going fourth overall. Going into the trade deadline, I can't really see. I mean, I'd tell them to acquire a top four defenseman, but that's not going to do you much if you're not going to the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, if I was a team, I'd look at moving Weirkoch, Cowan from their D-core. Maybe try to, I don't know what's going on with Chris Phillips. And then on forward, maybe just let Chris Neal go to a contender if that's something he wants to explore. But on forward, I wouldn't really change much. I mean, they've had injuries. MacArthur has been gone. Mahalik has been gone. I'm not sure how well Mahalik can play, but I mean, those guys, that definitely has an impact on your team if those guys are missing from the lineup.
That's true. Now, this is where our list differs heavily. So, I got the Edmonton Oilers drafting third overall, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was close to picking them first overall. Not because they deserve it, because they don't. This team can go to hell drafting first overall every year. But let me tell you right now, they are actually in a very desirable position where they have all these...
I'd say they're in the best position out of any Canadian team. But I think where they screwed themselves is by signing Talbot, because now you have to have him as your starter or else you're going to look stupid.
That was, you know what, and they only did that because they were already in danger of looking stupid. So they're like, no, you know what, we're going to stick with our guns. Let's see if that works out for them. I don't think it will, but, you know, it is what it is. These guys can easily unload Eberle. They can unload Hopkins. They can unload Yakupov if need be. They probably won't unload all of them. But this is a time where they stockpile. So they don't need to draft first overall for this reason, because they will be able to stockpile the picks. If not picks, it will be defensemen. Because that is, if they're going to stick with Talbot, that is the next course of action. Because you look at it, Connor McDavid, Taylor Hall, these guys.
It's ridiculous.
That's the future.
You have an all-star team on forward.
Yes, they do. But they have no supporting cast.
I think what's interesting with Edmonton is they rushed their forwards in, and they, with their defense, I think they haven't shined as much as their forwards. But if you look at, they've drafted some defensemen. I mean, you look at Clefbaum.
Yeah, Clefbaum. Darnell Nurse looks like he's going to develop.
He's a young defenseman. They traded for Reinhart. I mean, those three guys are young defensemen. If they come to what they're supposed to be, they're going to have a hell of a defense. But I just don't know if they're going to get there. And the current guys they have playing their top minutes right now just struggle. Schultz, to me, not a good defenseman.
No.
Maybe it's just not a fit in Edmonton. Mark Fane, just a terrible signing. Naheem, terrible signing. Sekera, he was overpaid, but I think he stabilizes your defense.
That's what you need to do for people to come to Edmonton. Probably not anymore. You know, they're gonna look at McDavid.
Yeah, then
this
they're
is a
gonna
show.
Want to play with him. Yeah, 100%.
This is instantly a show waiting to happen. You know, I do like their coaching staff. I do think they have a competent GM. Other than this, I think, just like I told you, it's just they're trying to not look dumb right now.
Yeah, I think their GM learned from trading Tyler Seguin, and I think that's why they haven't maybe rushed into trading their forwards right now until they have a good decision made. Yeah,
Louis Eriksson's looking great for Boston, isn't he?
I mean, this year he isn't, but in the past, I totally agree with you. There's no comparison between the two.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you picked Edmonton at number 3. For me, I'm picking the other Alberta team, Calgary.
I'd be happy with that.
I just think Calgary deserves to go number 3.